The Major Offenders Threat Investigations Unit received a case in February of 2018 regarding threatening letters sent by an anonymous person to Carolyn Farr, a well-known Houston philanthropist. After meeting with Carolyn Farr, she reported that an unknown person had been sending her threatening and harassing letters for approximately 20 years, and she feared for her life because not only did the suspect know where she lived, he appeared to be following her, and the tone of letters was becoming more aggressive. Carolyn Farr had filed several police reports in the past, but a suspect was never developed because the sender was anonymous and used several false returned addresses, and there were no other leads. Major Offenders detectives picked up the case and began a fresh investigation, took a new look at the most recent correspondence as well as past evidence. We worked with the United States Postal Inspectors who had developed a person of interest in another case involving another anonymous sender who was mailing threatening letters to the Houston area. Major Offenders conducted research and surveillance on this person of interest, now identified as Robin Chiswell. We began interviewing neighbors, fellow church members, past co-workers, past employers, and family members. New leads were developed and we received information that linked Robin Chiswell to writing anonymous letters to people he disliked, as well as learning that he was suspected of committing property crimes to people that he disliked and had altercations with. Major Offenders detectives met with the Harris County District Attorney Assistant DA Samantha Connect, who aided with a probable cause statement for an arrest warrant. Robin Chiswell was arrested at his house, and detectives recovered several pieces of evidence, including stationery similar to that which was sent to Carolyn Farr. Through further investigation, it was confirmed that Robin Chiswell had also sent a harassing letter to Coach Kevin Sumlin in 2017, who at the time was the head football coach of Texas A&M at the time of that incident. Robin Chiswell was charged with felony stalking in Harris County in November 2018, and Major Offenders investigators, along with ADA Connect, have identified other people in the Houston area that may have been targeted as well. Robin Chiswell targeted high-profile socialites and philanthropists known to live in the River Oaks and Tanglewood area. And now we are asking that anyone in this circle who has information or may have received an anonymous threatening letter to come forward. Detectives know Robin Chiswell has attended funerals and weddings of victims and has conducted research on his targets. As a community, we know that long-term stalking cases can lead to other serious crimes, and the Houston Police Department is committed to ensuring safety of our citizens. We're asking anyone with information regarding this case to come forward by contacting the HPD Major Offenders Division at 713-308-3100. Thank you to U.S. Postal Inspectors John Graffmiller and Joe McDougall, who's here with us. He aided us in this investigation. And I'll turn this over now to AD Connect and the other detectives that helped in this case.
Any questions?
This officer.
I'm up, Detective Jay Varela with HPD Major Offenders Threat Investigation Unit.
Officer Andy Vasquez with the HPD Major Offenders Division.
I'm Samantha Connect. I'm a prosecutor with the Major Offenders Division of the Harris County District Attorney's Office. And the reason why we felt like it was important for us, the reason why we felt like it was important to call this press conference today is because we believe that there is a good chance that there are other victims out there up until this point that didn't realize that Robin Chiswell was the person responsible for sending these harassing and threatening letters. With his arrest, we believe we now have information and evidence to believe that these are not the only victims and that there are numerous victims in Harris County. And we're requesting that you come forward at this time and help us in our investigation. Some of the things that are important in this case, that the letters were often sent anonymously, with the return address being either the River Oaks Country Club or the Houston Country Club. So up to this point, you may have received an anonymous letter, but not really been able to determine who sent you that letter. But if you received a threatening or harassing letter that had that return address on it, we want to know about it. If you received a threatening or harassing letter that was anonymous in nature, or you received several letters, again, we want to know about it because this will help us in our investigation, and it's important for us to be able to have all the facts as we continue throughout this process.
What is it that made it a felony charge?
Stalking is a felony whenever it reaches over to the level and becomes threatening. So when an individual becomes threatened and is in fear of their life or in fear of serious bodily injury, at that point it goes from just a simple harassment case to a stalking case, which is a felony.
So, and the attorney for the suspect says that there's no charges against him in regards to the coach. Is it just the one victim that has the charge?
At this point, he's only been charged with one case, and we're continuing our investigation, and we hope to be bringing additional charges.
Any idea on how many cases there might be?
We think that there are many cases out there, and like I said, up to this point, because he sent the letters anonymously, many people did not know who was responsible for sending those letters. So our hope is that by coming forward with this information and showing you some examples of what he sent, that people may now look at those letters and realize, wait a second, now I know who was responsible for sending me this mail.
Has he had personal interactions with this woman?
We believe that he had interactions with her, yes.
Okay, like were they considered friends?
They
or-
were not friends, no.
What sort of interactions?
That's part of the investigation, so we can't go into that.
Have
Can
there
you give us
been-
an example or a couple examples of what would be said in these letters, what types of things?
The letters were often threatening, but then also very insulting. He would use profanity. Often the letters started off with a string of profanity. Some of the cardstock even said, you know, F you on the front of it, so very distinctive cardstock. And then again, just things that were insulting and personal to the people that he was sending the cards to.
But also that he was going to hurt them?
Some of the letters rose to that level where it was indeed a threat, yes.
And if you charged of doing this before, like,
He has been charged with stalking in this particular case, and that's what we're here to talk about. So I can't talk about any kind of criminal history that he may or may not have.
So what kind of person he's right now, or he was, what kind of middle, high class, what kind of people he was targeting?
He was targeting he was targeting people in the Houston area that are known to be prosperous, people who tended to live in River Oaks area, Tanglewood area, people who are members of maybe the Houston Country Club or the River Oaks Country Club. That seemed to be where he found most of his victims.
Was he part of the circle, their circle?
I think he believed he was part of their circle, but not necessarily, no.
Have any other well-known socialites or other people come forward saying that this was happening to them?
So as part of our investigation, we're starting to get some leads, and one of the reasons why we're holding this today is we hope that by putting it out there that we've identified a person who's responsible for sending these letters, that we will get a response from some other individuals in Houston.
Can you tell us how you caught him?
Actually, it was a combination of the Postal Service and HPD working together. They had some information on some cases they worked earlier in the year. They weren't able to get any charges, but they had identified a suspect, and then we were able to take that and bring that into our investigation.
And when exactly did the arrest happen?
Pardon me?
When did the arrest happen?
It was in, I believe it was end of November 2018.
And he's been in custody ever since?
Yes, ma'am. You know, and with these stalking cases, in the past, as a community, we've seen how they can escalate into serious crime. So we were really excited about stopping this before, it got even further or did anything to these folks.
None of these cases that you probably think this individual was involved in went all the way to physical harm to anyone or anything, right?
No, he actually never put his hands on anybody.
But what sort of, in his threats of violence, what exactly did he plan to do?
You know, I don't want to get into detail exactly what he said, but the complainants felt threatened. You know, when somebody knows where you live and somebody knows your name and they're doing research on you, it's very frightening. And some of these threats went on for 15 years, and these people had to live with that and look over their shoulders. So it's very frightening.
Will there be a charge filed in the case of the coach?
At this point, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. That investigation is still continuing. That happened in another county. So we're working with those guys to see if there's any charges that will come across.
Does this individual live alone in his house, have family, what?
Yes, he lived alone.
How many cases similar to this, different people do get yearly?
Yearly? You know, I wouldn't have those numbers specifically. This was a unique case because it went on for over, like, the complainant in this particular case got letters for over 20 years. And it was, it was a case that was really unique in that aspect.
When did she finally come forward to police then?
No, she's filed several reports as far back as 2014. Different agencies and different units have looked at this case, And, we were just fortunate enough to get with the right people where we were able to develop a suspect.
And what may have inspired him to do this stuff?
I can't speak for him, I'm sorry.
Look, when you said look over your shoulder, I'm thinking you're referring to the victim. Did she hire extra security? What did she do to make sure that she was okay?
Well, you know, she took security measures. I don't want to get specific on what kind of security measures she's taken, but she did take security measures because of this, and, you know, there was an expense.
Convicted, what will be the penalty for this charge?
Stalking?
Yeah.
Stalking is a third-degree felony, so anywhere from 2 years.
Mike.
Sorry. Stalking is a third-degree felony, so it's anywhere from 2 years up to 10 years in the Texas Department of Corrections.
Has he been evaluated psychologically that he's okay?
We can't talk about that.
So do you have any idea what his motivation would have been? Was he trying to extort money from these people? Was he just a mean person? What's the motivation?
I mean, we're still investigating that. We don't know at this time. I think, you know, as victims come forward, we'll be able to further kind of understand why he was doing this, but at this point, that's under investigation.
But I can report that you don't know why he was doing this.
We don't know why right now.
But he only sends letters, not packages, nothing like that.
He sent letters.
That's it.
So, you talked about other victims. If someone is a recipient of letters like this, not only in this case, but just in general, what should they do? What's your tips to the public?
Notify the police and file a police report and save that evidence for us to collect.